Hey everybody, and welcome to the silliest yacht-based internet yachting show on the internet, on Facebook. I don't know. Listen, guys, this is the interview you guys have all been waiting for. I actually got in front of an immigration lawyer, and we're going to square some stuff away, and it's going to leave you with a lot more questions. But it's good information. Anyone with a B1, B2 visa should be watching this video. And I'm Doug. Something else real quick. I wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who's watching the show. I just ran some numbers. The last 4 episodes, last 30 days, 1,176,000 people plays on the show. That's incredible. That's over 1 million views a month. So I have nobody to thank but you guys. You guys are simply awesome. I was actually pretty impressed with the numbers. I didn't think it was that much. So anyway, without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to go right into the interview, and then I'll catch up with you guys at the end. Go ahead and roll it. Okay, guys, as promised, it took a little while because, frankly, good lawyers are busy, but we're going to answer the big B1, B2, working on yachts, U.S. flag, foreign flag yachts in the U.S. We know this is a huge debate. I'm going to say right now that anything that you see on this is just advice, but if you have a real situation, you should probably contact a lawyer. A really good lawyer is Juan Gainza, who's here today, and he is specifically an immigration lawyer. This is the guy that knows what he's doing. He brings people in legally all the time. So we're going to jump right into it. I know everybody's waiting. I've got all your questions that everybody sent me in, and we're going to start right off the bat. First of all, Juan, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely, my pleasure to be here.
Just a 30-second background on what you do.
So we have a boutique law firm. I practice immigration law. I've been a lawyer for over 20 years, and we're here to answer all your immigration questions.
That's it. This is it. You guys wanted an immigration lawyer, and we've got one. And by the way, he is located in Fort Lauderdale, so please feel free to blow up his phone.
Absolutely.
Okay, first question. Everybody is quoting the FAM manual. Maybe you sound like you're familiar with it. Can you explain what the FAM manual actually is?
So it's the Foreign Affairs Manual, and it provides guidance to the officers that are processing people coming into the U.S. And whenever they need to clarify an issue or have a question regarding the intent of the person entering the U.S., they usually go to the Foreign Affairs Manual for guidance.
Guidance. That's not U.S. code, though.
No. U.S. code is located in the INA Code, which is the Immigration Nationality Act, which specifies each statute.
So if you get into trouble and you quote the FAM manual, people are going to probably laugh at you.
It's guidance.
It's guidance.
Yes, correct.
Okay, before we get into the next question, which is going to be, can you interview while you're here on a visitor, trying to get a job on a yacht? What's the deal with that? Real quick, though, listen. Elite Marine AC. These guys pay for the show. We've got to give these guys some support. And, Hargrave Custom Yachts, because if you're on a yacht, you're going to be coming in and out. You got to know what kind of crew you're going to have on board. So listen, please check these guys out. Let your owner know it's time to buy a boat or whatever. But anyway, all right, let's get back to it and find out if you can actually look for work while you're in the U.S. They're flying into the U.S. They don't have a job. This is all for yacht crew. They want to walk the docks and what we call day work. In other words, you wash the boats and do all that. Now, obviously, when they came in, are you looking for work? They probably answered no. What's the legal point on that?
So we got to distinguish between a B1, a B2 visa, and a combined B1, B2 visa. If you're issued a B2 visa, that is a visit into the U.S. for pleasure only. If you're issued a B1 visa, it's a business visa, which you can seek employment opportunities, not necessarily work, but it's a visa where you can seek employment.
Okay, so in a day worker situation, there's a question of they're there for 1 day or 2 days. They probably shouldn't, if they're on the visitor's visa, they probably shouldn't be getting paid in the U.S. Is that correct?
Correct. So, and let me clarify it again. When I say employment, I mean business,
Okay.
not necessarily
So
employment
a foreign
in the
flag
US.
yacht. Okay. That'll bring me to the next question. A lot of people think that they have to. They're in the U.S. They're a foreign flag yacht. They can't interview. They have to fly out of the country to then come back and join this vessel. So, if someone with a business visa is in the U.S. and you just said to seek business opportunities, would they be legally allowed to join that foreign company in the foreign vessel in the U.S. or do they have to leave again?
Okay, so I have to go back to giving general advice on a B1, B2 visa. You are allowed to come on vacation to the U.S. for pleasure. You're also allowed some limited business opportunities as well.
Okay.
Not employment. Normally, when a boat enters the U.S., a foreign vessel, they usually have their crew on board on a crewman visa, or sometimes they issue a D visa. And those are normally the essential employees that are needed to carry the operation of the vessel. Certain times where the boat needs extra workers, somebody on a B2, B1 visa is allowed to work on a foreign vessel.
Okay.
As long as they're not paid by a U.S. entity in the United States.
Okay. So most foreign flag vessels, obviously the money's coming from offshore. So that's okay, I think.
That is permissible on a B1, B2 combined visa or a B1 visa.
What about if that money was coming from a U.S. entity? Like, here's a check at the end of the week.
So that's a gray area, and that might be considered as violating the B1 visa because you're being paid by a U.S. entity, and thus that would be considered employment in the U.S.
Okay. So everybody on a B1, B2 visa, first of all, has to be very careful about that. Because let's say that there is a violation, or let's say that there's a hiccup or something. What could crew reasonably encounter? In other words, what would be the repercussions of not following these rules?
So if a USCIS officer determines that the individual has violated their B2, B1 visa, they could cancel the visa, and by that I mean they'll be overstaying their stay in the U.S. That could cause a lot of ramifications in the future and make it difficult for the person to come back into the United States.
So when you say cancel the visa's gone.
Correct.
And then if it's a country that they come from that needs a visa, you're not getting back in.
It'll be very difficult. You have to reapply for the whole process, and they're going to see a prior violation, and that may be a reason in itself to deny the visa.
Okay, just want to jump in here real quick and remind you guys about MPT, Marine Professional Training. It's literally one school, unlimited possibilities. Listen, besides having visas, you got to get trained up, and these are the people to do it. And because you're watching this, you need the internet. And we just put this huge system on Renaissance. I'll talk about that another time. But you got to check out Marine Data Solutions. Marine Data Solutions just did an awesome job on the boat. It's absolutely amazing. Okay, let's find out who gets into trouble. Let's find out when owners get into trouble if they're hiring crew illegally. Let's go. We're all concerned, and you guys all know I'm concerned about crew ruining their careers. If you can't get a visa, you get on a boat, they're like, well, we're going to the U.S. for 6 months, you won't be able to go. What kind of repercussions would, say, the employer, the captain or the owner of the vessel encounter in a situation like that?
So generally for the owner of the vessel, I mean, you have to establish that it was intentional. He knew what he was doing. So I think in a case where, the employer of the vessel didn't know they were violating the visa, I don't think there will be any consequences.
Any at all?
No.
So again, gang, just remember that. Your visa is your responsibility, and there could be little or no consequences to the owner or the captain if you're in violation. This is why we're always telling you that it's your call. I mean, the owners are not going to get this huge tax bill or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with a big one, and this is the one that everybody is asking about. I'm going to paint the scenario for you.
Sure.
Foreign crew. Right now in the United States, we have a real shortage of U.S. crew. A lot of people are saying that foreign crew on a B1, B2 visa can legally work on a U.S. flag yacht. This is the one, guys. Foreign crew can work legally on a U.S. flag yacht in U.S. waters as long as they're paid from a foreign offshore company. You guys know what I always say. I'm like, look, follow the money. But listen to what Juan has to say right now. Go ahead, Juan.
So I would argue that it has to be a non-U.S. vessel, and the entity cannot be a U.S. employer.
Okay, so in the scenario where you have a U.S. flag boat, foreign crew member paid from an offshore company, in other words, no money's being changed in the U.S. And don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about a 50-foot sea ray that sits behind a guy's house and you're cutting the grass on weekends. This boat comes and goes out of U.S. waters. U.S. Coast Guard states that, yeah, when you're outside U.S. waters, the Coast Guard's cool with it. Is it, from an immigration lawyer standpoint, is that a legal situation?
It's kind of like it's a gray area. So technically, they're not being paid by the U.S. entity. However, in reality, it could be considered a U.S. entity with an offshore account to circumvent the immigration laws. That could be seen as a violation.
Okay, so it's a gray area.
It's a gray area. I couldn't give you a specific answer.
Okay, fair enough. So that means it's a gray area. It's a loophole.
Correct.
That you deal with this every day. With especially what's going on the border, things are lax right now, and I think a lot of people are taking advantage of, well, if they're not doing anything, it must be legal. I mean, do you see any of this happening?
Sure, there's an issue at the border with the influx and not enough officers available to adjudicate everybody coming in. We're seeing backlogs at USCIS. We're seeing things that would normally take 6 months could take up to 3 years. And that's kind of like the situation right now. It's they're short on manpower.
So they're not really going. Sounds like they're not really going after the small little violators. They're going after the whatever they've got going with the task force and everything.
Whatever their manpower allows them to do is what they're doing.
Okay. Let's go back for a second to an IRS question. It's not necessarily an immigration question, but. As an employer, if you employ somebody, regardless of their nationality, you have to report those taxes, or you have to report or 1099 them. You have to secure a social security number after I think it's $600.
Yeah, it should be a 1099, and if the person doesn't have a social security, they can normally get a tax ID number as well.
Okay. Can B1, B2 people get tax identification numbers?
I don't believe they can. I think that they will have to consult with the IRS, but I don't believe somebody here temporarily can get a tax ID number.
Okay. To do this legally, what kind of visa do you need so you don't have to worry about getting deported or anything like that, and you can come and go maybe a couple of seasons? Is there one?
Sure. There's the H-1B visas where for the temporary seasonal workers. The problem with those visas is that there's not enough to go around. They are already used up for this year. There's none available. So you have to apply early.
Oh, so there's a limited number.
Yes, usually it's 65,000 a year.
65,000. Well, that's all of yachting is about 65,000. So you guys got to get in early. Okay, listen, I think we've covered it all. Again, just to recap, the one thing that everybody wants to know about U.S. flag vessels with foreign crew operating on them, paid by a foreign entity, is a gray area.
Yeah, it is a gray area,
and it could go either way in court. Is that true or no?
It's up to the immigration officer that is adjudicating the visa.
That's it. It comes down to that and how he feels that day.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see the embassies issuing a B1, B2 or visa?
Well, yeah, the B1, B2, you don't have to have the job lined up already. So you can tell them, you have your planned purpose to come to the U.S.
Okay.
The intent is always non-immigrant. You have to establish that you have ties to your home country.
What would that be, like bank accounts?
Bank accounts, property, family.
Okay.
And then once you establish that, if the officer determines that you satisfy the visa requirements, they'll issue the visa.
What would prohibit you from getting it renewed or getting kicked out? I mean, stuff like overstaying or anything like that. What are the bad things?
So if you overstay by a day or so due to weather and the boat couldn't leave on time, that should not be an issue.
Who do you contact?
You don't contact anybody, you just depart.
Oh, okay.
However, if you overstay for longer than 6 months, that will be an issue.
Okay.
Because now you trigger a section of the law that bars you from coming into the U.S. for 3 years. If you overstay by a year, then the penalty increases to 10 years, a 10-year bar, whether you're on a crewman visa or a tourist visa.
Any visa.
Any overstay of 6 months will bar you for 3 years, and any overstay of a year or longer will bar you from coming to the U.S. for 10 years.
So if you overstay by 3 months, you need to call Juan because you ain't getting back in. You need to change the status. And then we'll close this up. What do immigration officers look at? For example, you came in on a boat, any boat, different boats, and you're here for 5 months, 9 days. You go to the Bahamas for a week because you know you have to leave on your visa, and then you come back and then you stay for 5 months, 10 days. I mean, are they keeping track on computers on your stay, and what happens if you do stuff like that?
So absolutely, they're keeping track of time, and when they see a pattern where you spend more time in the U.S. than in your home country, that's showing, or at least suspicion to the immigration officer that you're here to work and not necessarily for another purpose.
All right, gang, I think we got the broad strokes covered. Juan, thank you so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Listen, gang, if you really need help, just call Juan. I mean, he's here in Fort Lauderdale, and he's very knowledgeable about this. And you punched through so many change of status visas to get people green cards.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, that's your thing.
Yes, we love to help you out if you have a question.
People, get your green card, and you never have to leave again, right?
Exactly.
Okay, thanks again.
All right, have a great day.
Thanks. Okay, jumping in one more time for marine fluid analysis. AMSOIL, guys, you've got to check this out. It's going to save your engine, absolutely 100%. But always check out Dave with marine fluid analysis powered by AMSOIL. Okay, a big thank you to Juan for doing this. I just have a couple observations. First one is Juan is an actual immigration attorney. A lot of people are getting their information from the boat's attorney who might not be specialized in this. So I'm going to tend to lean on Juan's side because he goes to court all the time defending people with visa problems. This is his business and not necessarily, some of the other lawyers who are giving us information that are just kind of like general practitioners, I guess. Practitioners, is that the right word? Anyway, and then the other thing, just an opinion, is the gray area with a foreign crew on U.S. flag boats in the U.S. I don't know if you've noticed, but half the lawyers are saying one thing and the other half are saying the other. Juan was very careful not to pin that down, but he did say a couple of important things. And I do believe that if it came down to brass tacks and y'all got in trouble, I think the immigration court is probably going to say no. The fact of the matter is, it's so tricky and it's so, is this really legal? This is not. Do you really want to put yourself in trouble over a job? I mean, and let's not forget, if you're working in the U.S. on a U.S. flag boat, you don't have a social security number, you can't get health insurance, you can't do all kinds of things. I mean, it's a big pain in the old butt. So take all this info for what it's worth. I could get another attorney who'd probably say something completely different because nobody really knows. Gray area. I mean, nobody is looking at this, and I'm pretty sure they're going to close this loophole pretty soon as more people are doing it. Anyway, I'm Doug. Chelsea's she's out doing something. She's chartering boats or something like that. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was pretty informative, and I will see you guys next time. In the meantime, stay safe out there. I mean, everybody's moving north and moving east, so make sure you know where your life jackets are.